Let's look how we're going to defeat the bosses of Nokhud Offensive in Season 4 of Dragonflight, starting with Granyth. The first thing is going to be this tectonic stomp here. Simply make sure you run out of this. For the healers, shards of stone, which are going to be activated here, shooting out all shards of stone, as you can see they're hitting me. This is going to do a large group-wide AoE damage, and you need to make sure you're topping people up on health before this comes in. Once the boss actually reaches 100 energy, it's going to start casting Eruption, as you can see here. You're going to run to one of the ballistas that has been activated by the boss. For instance, it's this one here. It's the Dragon Killer Lance you're running to. Activate it, shooting those ballistas at the boss, taking off 5% of the boss's damage and stunning him for a few seconds. And then you can pump out some damage. There will be some mobs spawning called saboteurs that you want to cleave down near the boss in melee range as well. You can save some cooldowns for this. And that is pretty much it for Granyth. For healers, shards of stone coming in here, top everyone up before this, it's a lot of damage. Come out from the tectonic stomp. And then when the ballistas activate, make sure you're nearby to shoot these out so that Eruption doesn't go off and kill everyone, cleaving down the mob that comes with it in melee range of the boss. Now, there are going to be some orbs to collect in this fight, and I want you to be aware of, as a tank, with the Raging Tempest, that Wind Burst, as you can see here, is going to be cast on the boss's target if they're not in melee range. So if you are the tank and you run out from the boss, they will attack you with this Wind Burst attack. So it's not going to be an absolute tank killer, but you just should be aware that this is going to be increasing the damage you take if you come out of melee range. You can then see Energy Surge coming out here. That's that attack it's just done. Basically, this is going to increase the boss's damage done for a short while, and also its attack speed, and that is again going to be on the tank. We've then got Lightning Strike coming in here, and you want to make sure you're moving away from other people when this comes in, as you can see here, making sure it doesn't overlap for the damage that will happen. You can then see these little lightning orbs, and when you actually collect these, you're going to get increased damage and healing. And one of the best strategies here is, of course, as the healer, you can take some to get more healing in, but letting the DPS stack these up is best so that we can get the fight over and done with as quickly as possible. When the boss actually casts Lightning Strike, any orbs that are hit by it will also be destroyed and therefore won't be collectible by the way. If you are melee, you don't want to stand directly under the boss, as that will give you damage as well, so do be careful of that. But apart from that, that's pretty much it. Avoid everything on the ground, spread out so that you're not overlapping lightning strikes, collect the orbs to do more damage and healing. For healers, you can dispel the boss's buff. That is the Energy Surge that makes him do more damage and increases his attack speed. That is dispellable by the way. And you can also see here, when we're collecting the orbs, the boss is going into Electrical Storm here, channeling this for a while. This will be pulsing out AoE damage across the group. Again, for the healer, you do need to be topping people up while this happens. Now we have Maruuk and Teera. These two do actually share a health pool, and therefore stacking them up and cleaving them down is the best way. They also will get very angry and enrage if they are far away from each other, so you do actually need to keep them together. One of the first abilities we're going to see is Frightful Roar. You can see this large purple circle on the ground here, and basically if you stand in this, it's going to be fear. If you do have any fear immunities, then they will actually work against this. Otherwise, make sure you're standing outside of this. You can also see Teera is casting Spirit Leap here, and when this goes in, you can see she's leaping over here. Of course, I've just said to keep them together, so when she leaps, you do want to take the boss, which that being Maruuk, over to where Teera now is, to make sure that they don't, again, stay far away from each other for very long, or they will enrage. We then have this one here, Gale Arrow. You can see it by the increasing gale starting to come up here. You want to place this away from the group and the bosses if possible. As you can see, gusts of wind are going to come out, and you definitely don't want this on top of the boss where your melee are going to have to really maneuver around to not get hit by it. You can see here Teera is casting Quick Shot. Now, when she is far away from him and they do enrage, these quick shots can be really, really quite high damage. So you do, again, want to get them together as quickly as possible. There's also going to be these brown swirlies on the floor. Make sure that you, of course, stand out of these when they're cast. And apart from that, the boss will also cast Brutalize on the tank, doing high damage. Watch out for that spell being cast, so you should actively be mitigating and using defensives when that is incoming. The only other thing you'll see is Guardian Wind here, and this is going to give you some pushback. And again, this can happen when you're getting the brown swirlies. This is called Earth Splitter, by the way. Of course, again, just making sure you stand out of that. Avoid the pushback, get out of the fear, make sure you keep them close together, cleave them down together. And that's pretty much it for that one. The last boss in the dungeon is Balakar Khan here. And this is a 2-phase boss coming at 60% health. He's going to spawn some adds at 60%. That we're going to want to, of course, nuke down. You can see here he's doing Rending Strike on the tank. This is going to put a bleed on you and increase the damage you take from Savage Strike, which is his kind of like main attack here. You can see he's doing a few times, and that'll increase the amount of damage you take from that one by 500%. You're then going to see that I've got Iron Spear on me, and you're going to see that he's actually going to throw that spear. What you want to do is bait it like this near a wall. So when he throws the spear on you, which will do damage, and then move out of the way, as you can see, he's actually going to charge into that wall. So obviously, if you put the spear way out into the room, he's going to go miles away. We want to bait that spear near the wall when he throws it so that his charge afterward is very short. There's going to be blue swirlies on the ground. Ignore those, of course. Another thing you'll see is Conductive Strike, which he's just cast there. Very quickly, he casts that. It will do a damage over time, and then he's going to cast another spell. You want to make sure you absolutely dispel that dot on people before it goes off. And that one is called Thunderstrike. So basically, he'll cast Conductive Strike, putting damage on you, and then a damage over time, and then cast Thunderstrike. So you want to make sure you're dispelling that as a healer before that effect goes off. So like I said, at 60%, he's going to call on his 4 adds. They do a lightning bolt spell that can be interrupted. Take them into melee to cleave them up. As you can see, they're all doing Storm Bolt, not Lightning Bolt, same thing. Again, this can be interrupted, and you can see he's siphoning power here in the intermission, and it's going to cause a debuff called Storm Winds. And this is a pulsing AoE damage in this intermission while the adds are up that he will be channeling. As a healer, of course, we want to be keeping people topped up through this. And as DPS, you want to be nuking down the adds in cleave range as quickly as possible so that this phase is as short as possible. And that is it. So healers, make sure you're dispelling the dot that goes on people, baiting that spear near the wall to stop his charge being really long. As a tank, make sure you're mitigating the bleed he puts on you, and also making sure we're nuking down the adds at the 60% health mark for the intermission. One other thing I didn't mention is this one here, Crackling Upheaval. It's a frontal, of course. Put this away from the group, preferably towards the wall, again, as a tank. And that's it, guys. That is all we need to know for the Nokhud Offensive Season 4 of Dragonflight.